All right, it's just turned 2 o'clock. We'll just, if you don't mind, just wait till 2:01 and then because there was a fair few people actually registered for this kind of session, so but we'll wait for that. Just going over, I will be recording this if you've just jumped on, and I'll be putting this in the helpful resources. Yes, it's been a while since I've done a webinar and so forth. There's been a lot of reasons why, but I'm going to get back into doing it every single month from now on. As well as I'll just highlight something on our website now, is that in our login page, logged in anyway. In the login page, you might have seen a bit of a change where we're actually producing, like saying, hey, this webinar's on, or this new feature is in the system. We're going to be doing a lot more of that kind of stuff and educating everyone on exactly what upgrades are going in the system, because there has been a fair few upgrades going to the system, and it's probably pretty hard for clients to keep track of it as long as we can communicate that. But anyway, it's 2:01 and we'll start the webinar. And thank you for turning up to this webinar. Today's webinar is going to be on the checklist feature and the monitor, which are two of the biggest features inside the system. The checklist feature is the most used feature inside the system out of every other feature. If you're not using it, you should be. And you'll probably see after this meeting why it's such a great feature. Then I'm going to ask Michael to actually go through the responsibilities register and its relationship with the new incident upgrade. And then after he's done that, I'll actually highlight some of the other new features coming inside the system. And Michael actually can do that. Michael, if you can, when we get to it, you can actually show the activity and maybe even the other stuff that we're actually doing. So but today is mainly about the checklist feature, the most used feature, as I mentioned. If I select checklist, you've got all your checklist in these different things, but you'll see you've got these categories up here. This is a new field. So you select all, you're going to see all the checklist on this register. But you can categorize things now. And how you categorize things is you come up here and you go document types. And you can actually add a document type here. That document type is actually related to the checklist feature, but also mainly the plant and equipment as well, that relationship. Because you might be doing a checklist that is either a general like safety checklist, or it might be a risk assessment, or it might be whatever it may be, you know, SOP kind of process, or you might even relate that to an activity for a safe work method statement. So that's why we've categorized these here, but you can actually select whatever it may be and select go, and it'll filter this register, and that's what it'll show. So if you've got a register with hundreds and hundreds of checklists, which some people in this meeting do, you can actually filter for certain things. If you want to know more about that filter process, please book yourself in for a training session with myself, and I can analyze your business to show, hey, only these people can actually see these kind of processes because you've actually categorized things. But let's go to the checklist feature. I'll select edit next to this one because I do this in all my presentations. You can actually relate a checklist to a site and close that field. Obviously, you've got all these open closed fields beside all these processes. So the open closed field is, depending on what you actually select, means that in the view section, if I select view, say for an example, next to this one, oh, bad choice. So I'll go back to my main one. If I actually select view next to this item, it's just literally set fields. That's if you close the fields. So the machine that we're going to be doing this checklist for is a forklift. And should be called forklift 1 or forklift 2, forklift 3, because if you've got multiple forklifts, you need to brand it every individual kind of machine inside there. But it's forklift at Victoria, they might only have one forklift, whatever it may be. So what you can actually do then is, if I come back here and if I open this field, and and select update, and I go back to that same checklist, all of a sudden, see how it's created this list here, and now I can select any checklist I want, or sorry, any machine I want. So so you're looking at, when it comes down to it, you've got the ability to open that field or close that field. What is the best thing to do? The best thing to do is actually have that field closed. I'll give an example of that. So one of the people in this meeting, Dan, how are you? So from Brian Hilton Motors up at Gosford, they've got multiple car dealerships, and those multiple car dealerships have multiple hoists. So in his his venue up at Gosford, he's got would be 30 hoists, for an example, in 3 different areas of their different things, just for an example. If you just had hoist, well, then you wouldn't know actually which hoist it was. So we numbered hoist 1, hoist 2, hoist 3, hoist 4, whatever it may be, but we actually numbered it against also the dealership name. So it was like, Honda hoist 1, bang, Honda hoist 2, Honda hoist 3, etc. The reason why you want to do that is because he has so many hoists across all these sites. You don't want to make that person make a mistake selecting the wrong hoist. So by closing the field, it lessens the mistake for the end user. It lessens the mistake. So if you have a facility that has multiple sites but you still have to have the same checklist undertaken for you, please contact me or send me an email or book yourself in for a meeting, because then I'll get my girls, Debbie and Mary, to literally copy all those checklists like we did for Dan and relate it to every single individual hoist. And then they stick the QR code on the hoist, and all of a sudden you've got, the person can't make a mistake. They're scanning the QR code, they do the checklist, and it's related to hoist number 1, Honda. So so if you do have multiple places, as Dan knows that we actually did all that kind of stuff, there is no cost and no charge for that. So the best thing for you to do is usually keep these fields closed, unless, say for an example, you've got the contractor field. You might want to, if you want to use this checklist as a contractor kind of sign in, sign off, open that field, and then that will pick up the contractor register. It won't pick up every individual employee in that contractor register. It'll pick up the main guide from the contracting company of that person. But it will actually save it against the contractor in the contractor records, which I'll show you later. So the best thing for you to do, especially if you're actually wanting to reach certain kind of compliances and standards, you can actually say upload certain standards in your compliance register. The compliance register, a lot of people say, what is the compliance register? The compliance register is just a reference register. I'm doing this relating to this compliance, and this is picking up your policy register. So I'm doing this checklist relating to this machine for this compliance relating to our company policy. It will save, the checklist will not only just save it against the checklist, it will save it against every single process that you select in this here. And that's why, say for example, the audit feature is a great feature to show that, hey, I've done this checklist related to this machine, related to this compliance, related to this. So if you want to know more about the audit process, we're going to be doing another session, but again, you can book yourself in. That's if you're wanting some kind of accreditation of some sort. So the thing is that you can now categorize. So these categories here are picking up I knew that was going to happen. So it's these categories here. You can add your own categories in your plan item and subcategories. But if you add a category there, and then you're building a checklist, you can actually now build a checklist to a category. That means if you select the view button next to a plant item, you can, yes, relate a checklist to an individual machine, but now you can actually select it and make it as a category. If you're someone like Brian Hilton Motors, you wouldn't do that because there's too many hoists right across the board. It's much better to do it individualized. But if you're a company just with a warehouse and you've got, say, maybe a couple of vehicles, that's about it, you could do that as a category. So therefore, the checklist is related only to the cars or trucks and not to all your other equipment, for an example. So it's and you can relate it to a subcategory if you wanted to as well. But you've also got down here that the categories that you've actually built in this section here, document types, you can actually categorize those, and then you'll see that the system with that filter that we actually had at the front there picks up those categories. So therefore, you only see those categories inside the register. That's the reason why we've actually changed that to be like that, is because we've got a lot of clients with multiple sites and multiple things doing either a checklist, but sometimes they're doing a risk assessment. Sometimes they're doing whatever it may be. So if I've done a risk assessment and I've related to the machine a forklift, it's going to save it not only in the checklist feature, but it's also going to save it against the plant item. And I can actually filter by categories of, I want to see all the risk assessment I've done on all the machines. So if I come here, select plant and equipment, I only want to see whatever it may be. So it's just it's a great way to filter your registers and see exactly what you want to see. Let's go back to the checklist feature. So I think everyone kind of knows how that top section works. So let's build our checklist. So building a checklist, first of all, you would actually select edit item. You can actually make a checklist, a heading, a question, yes or no, a checklist, all these different things. It was only a couple of years ago that it was heading, question, text. So all these upgrades have actually come from ideas from clients or ideas from both Michael and myself. So recently we actually put a risk matrix in there that picks up the risk matrix that you've created. You can even select the matrix that you actually want to be in there, because you can build your own matrix. But you're looking at, that's something that you might want to do a risk assessment on a plant and equipment item and relate it to it. That's what you can do there. So you go through and build your checklist. Now there's different things. So if I actually select this yes or no, you'll see these feathers beside the yes and no button. What are they? Well, yes, you can select the photo, action, hazard, or maintenance button. So these ones down here to be on this checklist item. But if you don't select those, like if I deselect those, and then I say, for example, select this feather, that means, yep. Can you skip if the answer, if the axis, I'm going to say no. They can't skip it. It's basically, at the end of the day, I want the action, hazard, and maintenance button to appear if they select yes. But you could also select it. We only recently, before we only had it for no. And it was just default as no. If you select no, it would actually bring up the action, hazard, maintenance process. So a lot of people complained about that. So we've now added the flexibility that you can make it either yes or no by using the feather. Rightio. So it can you actually skip this action? And I'm just going to say no action. And I'm going to submit. So you build your checklist. You've got all these different types. The one, like, say, for example, that's probably a bad idea is like person picker should be selecting the people involved in the toolbox tool. That's why we actually created that feature. So you can actually use this as a toolbox tool feature. You can upload a picture. You can embed your matrix. Again, this matrix looks pretty ugly. And the reason why is because you can build your own matrix inside the system. If you want to know how to build your own matrix, again, book yourself in. So you can do a star rating system, especially for people who actually want to, test the customer service or whatever it may be. You might even do that as an employee kind of process as well. The review date here is the review of the checklist. So you might set that each year to make sure that this checklist is up to date. The person responsible here is the person responsible for the review date. It will not email alert that person. It'll put it into their to-do list. If you want an email alert to go out to that person on that review date, you will actually have to come up here and set an alert in here. The checklist alert in the alert section is for that review date. Not to say that the checklist is done or anything like that. It's solely for the review date. But if I actually come down to the bottom again, do you want to be notified that this checklist has been completed? A lot of people like that. At the moment, there's only one person notified. We will do an upgrade when we get around to some other stuff that's going in the system beforehand, that you can select multiple people. But do you want to be notified that this hasn't been done by the to-do builder? So you can actually assign something via the to-do builder. And then if this person hasn't done it by the given date, you can get notified, hey, yes, I want to be notified. This is the person that's going to be notified. Do I want to make it public? The answer is, if it's just in your area and your process that only your employees can actually do this checklist, you would definitely make it public. Public means that when they scan that QR code, they don't even have to enter a username and password. Only time that you would actually make it non-public is if it's something that it's in a facility where anyone can come up and scan that QR code. Then you would actually make it that they enter the username and password. Formerly, our number one ticket 8 years ago was, I forgot my username and password, because it was a bit of a cop-out for employees to go, oh, I didn't know my username and password, so I didn't do the checklist. Whereas that bypasses that and they've got no excuse. Do you want your employee list on the form? At the end of the day, again, if it's something only your employees are doing, you want your employee list so they can select that. If they do that and they select it from the list, then it will automatically save it against that employee in the employee's history and checklists. So the answer is yes, if it's only access to your employees. You want a signature box because you want them to sign off on screen. And do you want to make this checklist private and hidden? That's mainly relating to the smart form feature, because you need to use the checklist feature to build the smart form. But that is another topic. If you want to know more about the smart form, because it is available now, Michael's done a great little video and so forth that is on the login page. Watch that video and so forth. But if you do want to learn more about the smart form, please don't hesitate to book yourself in, because it is a great feature. Bit difficult, but we'll actually build it for you. So your checklist has actually been in. If I select view, as you know, it automatically creates a QR code for that checklist with the name of the checklist on it. Being that this is public, if I scan that QR code, it will automatically bring up the checklist on my mobile device or iPad, and it will actually save it against everything that I've actually related that checklist to. So very, very powerful feature. So if we go through here, you can actually select the machine. Actually, I'll select hoist. So you can add text fields. Yes, no, but see how you've actually got this here where I've selected yes, but if I select no, because I didn't actually make no bring up an action, but if I select up yes, you can make it automatically bring up an action. So you have the ability to have just put your buttons here that if you wanted to, but you also have the ability to go, no, if they select yes or no, I want them to add an action or a hazard or maintenance, no matter what. Okay, so it's just a great way for you to go, yeah, they can't just bypass that and not add an action if they've said something's wrong. So you can do tick boxes. You can do a rating system. You can do a percentage, especially for companies with like Bay Marias and all those different things that they're looking after. You can do bulk text. This date field, well, this date field, even though it does timestamp this checklist, this date field it might have been done on a previous day. So you can do time if you wanted to, but you can actually upload a picture and draw on that picture. And by the way, no, that's not my car. I got a better car, I got Genesis. So you can actually do a risk score. So this is picking up literally the same thing as it's picking up the matrix that you've actually created. Now you can create your matrices up in here, or you can actually go to the risk manager section and do it there as well. You can do a star system. You don't have to have 5-star. You can have 10-star. You can have as many stars as you wish. You can actually make it, if they selected only 2 stars, that it brings up an action, hazard, and maintenance to go, why did you actually choose 2 stars out of 10? What was wrong? So it's a great way for you to maybe do surveys. So you can sign on screen. This is picking up the person who is doing this checklist. But if you are going to do toolbox talks, you can actually select multiple people as well. Submit. That's done lots of things. So if I select view, I go toggle information. One, it's put time and date where it's been. If you are in a state that is other than, say, New South Wales and Victoria, you can now, say for example, in the site register, add time, basically date, time kind of regions. So if you're in Queensland, you can actually set Queensland time for your site. If you're in Western Australia, you can set it for Western Australia. So you can actually go there to site register. If you need to know how to use that feature, please, again, book yourself in. We are more than happy to do it for you. And just say, oh, can we have all these states set up, and we'll do it for you so you don't have to do it. Once it's done, it's done. So, but if I go log, it's automatically put it into log, timestamp, depending on where I'm at, and it's automatically turned that into a PDF. So the reason why we've got this field here is because a lot of people are uploading photos relating to the checklists, and you're looking at the photo was really such a large kind of, so many megabytes, so that people couldn't download the checklist. So we've done this HTML where it'll actually load much quicker, and it just takes that photograph out of the PDF. But if you want the photographs in your kind of process, use the HTML and then transfer it to a PDF. You can actually duplicate this checklist. So if I'm doing a checklist, just like we did, say for example, for Brian Hilton Motors, and it's the same kind of checklist for each hoist, we would actually copy this and then we relate that to hoist number 5, but we'd actually change this. You need to change this to whatever it is. So if you don't change it, the system will come up and say you can't have the same name for a checklist, because then it gets lost in it. So if you are going to copy a checklist, you can copy it, change the machine, or change whatever you need to do. But it's a good idea to put the name of the machine next to that checklist, or chemical, or activity, or whatever it is. Then that way there, when you print out that QR code, it's actually got workshop inspection hoist 5. So you know exactly what that's for. So it if I go back to this kind of process and I'll just select view again. So here is any action that's been related to that checklist done previously. Same thing with hazard maintenance. Any documents you've uploaded in the register, probably very rarely you'll use that feature. Signed document history, again, very rarely you use that feature. But you can export this checklist to see all the answers. And like if you did want to use it as a survey, you can actually export it, turns it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can actually filter that. And it's a great way for you to actually build maybe graphs and all those different things relating to that checklist. So let's go to now one of the most popular features inside the system, which is the monitor. And this idea came actually from a car dealership that had multiple sites. So what it is that they have to do their QR code for the hoist every single day, but they had around about 100 odd sites. They said, well, we love the QR code feature. It's fantastic. They just have to go up there and scan the QR code and automatically it brings up the checklist and they can do it. And it's awesome. It saves against the hoist. But we actually want to know if a checklist has not been done on any given day at any given site. So if you've got multiple sites, this feature is definitely for you. Even if you just got one site and you want to monitor that certain checklists have been done every day, you would use this feature. So I'll just select edit again next to something like this. So what this is doing, you actually name the site, the monitor, related to the global site's easiest. And then you're looking at date range here. The date range is that this monitor is going to be monitoring every single day. If I change that for 7 days, then these red crosses won't go, the green ticks won't go back to a red cross till 7 days. So it's like you're monitoring over a period of time. So you might build a monitor, which is a daily monitor. You might build a monitor, which is a weekly monitor. You might build a monitor, which is a monthly monitor. You might even do 6 months, 12 months. Again, if you want us to help you with building your monitors and suggesting what you want, book yourself in for a training session. But these here are just literally picking up. I'm selecting type checklist. We've only got checklist at the moment. We are going to make this into other fields later on when we get a chance. You can actually relate it to a site, plant, or employee. Most of the time you would relate it to a plant item. So you can select the plant item, which is hoist, BMW hoist, but then you would actually, say for example, select your checklist and submit. So what's that doing now? You can actually, if I was Brian Hilton Motors, you would actually build another one and you would select checklist, plant and equipment, but hoist number 6. And then you do hoist number 7, hoist number 8. So you'd build a monitor for every single one of those areas. Yes, you want a signature box on it. This is a good feature. Do you want to be notified that this monitor has been completed? So instead of you thinking, oh, have they done all that kind of stuff, you can actually receive an email and it actually highlights everything, all the checklists that's been done on any given day. And if they have done it or have not done it. If they have not done it, they actually have to write in why they did not do it. So the beauty about this is if I select, say for example, view, you've got your 2 checklists. If I actually select on that checklist and I do this checklist, automatically it goes to a green tick. So we've got a couple of clients and what they've done, they've gone out and bought themselves large monitors, computer screens or TV sets. And they've actually put that through their warehousing or through their depots for some of these councils, as well as, say for example, put it in their office. This will refresh itself every 60 seconds. So therefore, you can actually have this page open all day with all your checklists that you know that have to be done on any given day. And basically at the end of the day, you can see all go to green sticks. Tomorrow morning at like 12:01, it will automatically go back to red crosses again, and they'll follow that process. That's if you've set it at 0. This will not go back to a red cross if you've set it at 7 days. It'll go back after the week. So that's the power of this feature. So also you can actually print out a QR code. I have a lot of clients go, yeah, we've got one person that has to do all these checklists. So you can print out that QR code. If you scan that QR code, it's actually going to bring up all the checklists on that monitor. So you could have a QR code on the wall, person goes up there, scans the QR code, goes around and does each checklist for each machine, for an example. And that's all going to go to green ticks. And then all they have to do, instead of scanning each QR code when they go to every single machine, just scan one QR code and do them all. So you have that flexibility there. So taking it up a notch, you can now build a monitor board. A monitor board is where if you've got multi-sites, this is the kind of feature for you. So if you've got, like Brian Hilton's got multiple sites, and what that is that they can have, I don't think they've got Audi, I think they've got Honda or whatever it may be that they've got, but Dan will tell me later. But you're looking at, you can actually create an individual monitor for each individual site. And then what you're doing is you're literally building a board. So you call it the name, it might be voice monitoring related to the global site. Put the danger range as 0. Number of columns, just leave it custom, probably best. So the beauty about this is that now you can actually select, I want to monitor, this is picking up all the monitors in my monitor register. I want to monitor the Genesis hoist. You can even change the color. So it's a good idea, say for example, saying this is, 99-142. So when you actually do this one here, you want to make it 99-142. But you've got the color spectrum here and all that kind of stuff. So just remember these numbers. If you actually type those numbers in these fields here, it'll bring up the exact color. But you can change the color of the header. So all these ones here, just leave it as it is. It's probably best not to do it. But you can actually upload a logo to be at the top of the monitor. So let's go back to here. Like Michael's done here. That logo there is literally the logo that you've actually uploaded. And there's your name, and see how they're all color coded. So you can actually color code your own monitors inside this system. And there's that checklist that we actually did just previously. So this will all go to a green tick hopefully over the morning or the day, and then automatically go back to red crosses if I've selected that date frame as 0. But you're also looking at, you can actually print out reports for this process as well. So it's a really, really powerful feature, especially where you can actually highlight that this is that all your people are actually doing your checklist, and instead of them going, yeah, I did that checklist. Well, the only way previously you would known that is actually come to the checklist, select view, all that kind of stuff to actually see if they've actually done it. And you're not going to do that if you've got multiple machinery. So that's why the monitor is a great feature. So you can actually have it just built, open, and actually check it each time. And when people know that you're checking something, they'll definitely do it. If you want a monitor built for you, book yourself in for a Zoom meeting with myself, and then I'll go through you, and you can just highlight the stuff that you want done, and just like I did with lots of clients, and basically we'll build your monitor for you because it is a great feature, and if you're not using it, you should be. All right, I'm going to give my voice a rest, and I'm going to pass it over to Michael. To talk about the responsibility register and its relationship with the incident section. Michael?
Yeah, can you stop sharing so I can share my screen, please? All right, thanks, Phil. I just want to go over a few things really quickly if I can. So let me know when you can see my screen. It sometimes takes a little while for it to click over. You see my screen okay? You're all muted. I'm going to assume that's a yes.
Yes, no, your screen's there. All good.
All right, so Phil wanted to show you the login screen to start off with. So we're updating these modules here. We're going to have a couple more just to keep you up to date. Phil mentioned the smartphone walkthrough, which you can access here, and we're going to try and keep this up to date with all of the items we're doing. What's powerful about the monitor board? I just want to go back a thing is you can obviously put your different logos here in your different colors. Don't know if you noticed, but this is the Suzuki red, this is the BMW blue, the Ford blue, and all the rest of it. So you can really make these as nice as you'd like. But what's really cool is if you're in charge of the BMW hoist section, the monitor looks amazing on a phone, and it's been designed for that phone first environment. So imagine you're in charge of the BMW repair center. You need to look through and do exactly look through all what's been done from your perspective. And you can even, if you go through to hoist 2 and you realize that that's already started work from, you can pull the worker off. You can click on that from the monitor. You can go through. Sorry, my internet's a little bit slow here just because of all the weather that we've been having. You can select the information, choose a new W because you're in the meeting, and you can complete this on the spot with the worker in front of you, and you can hit submit. I've done something wrong there. This is not my system. I'm logged into 2 systems at the same time, and it will update this section here as well. Okay, so that's quite an interesting thing. The other point I'd say is if you're in charge and you've got the monitor board up there, there is a mass SMS people. So each monitor, there is someone responsible for it. You can SMS them at 10 o'clock saying, hey, look, you haven't submitted your monitors for the day as well. On submitting of the monitor, what happens is you can go through and you can say, hey, look, hoist 5 is out of order, so we're not doing the pre-start checklist. Hoist 6 is not being used for the day, so we've only got these 4. So there's a matter of not just saying this is why a checklist has not been done, so you can submit that through for your records as well. Coming back to the system really quickly, I did want to say the document types relates to 2 things in the system at the moment. In plant and equipment, if you do hit the upload button, it's going to say, well, what type of document are you uploading? So this is the document types, and it's only used here and in the activity register. So then the reason being is when you go to press download here, you can say, well, what do you want to download? I want to download the user manual. So rather than going through hundreds of records, that's where it is. Likewise, the checklist type, it's used when you export this register. So if you publish this register and you export all of the checklists, either all of them of all time or by date, that's how it comes through to you. So if you've got a checklist of type risk assessment, you might want to say, well, I want to see every single risk assessment which has been done in this quarter. So you might say to your people, hey, look, I need to have a risk assessment done for every single bit of plant and equipment per quarter, and this is how you would monitor it here. So that comes down to checklist categories. Okay, so the monitors, the other thing I was going to mention in monitors is it's a really good way of having a single, I don't have it in my system, but it's in Phil's system, the monitor section. It's a really good way of having a single checklist applied to multiple sites and multiple plant and equipments. So whereas in the checklist register, Phil was saying, and rightfully so, that there should be one checklist per plant and equipment type per site, and to close those down, what happens is when you access a checklist via the monitor register, you can actually define those links and lock it in and get specific QR codes saying this checklist, this site, and this plant and equipment, lock it in with this one QR code, and it goes off the single checklist. So if you've got 400 hoists and you've got 3 different types, you might have 3 different checklists rather than having 400 checklists in your system. So that's what the monitor section does. Coming back to, well, one of the things it does, coming back here to the responsibility section, this used to be quite a simple one. You used to have a being able to add a responsibility per site person. It used to be quite flat. Now what we've done is we've made it quite dynamic. So you might have it's very easy to add a new responsibility. All I need to say is what the name is, and that's it. You can go into more detail if you'd like. So if I was going to add the responsibility of Senior First Aid Officer, I would have to say that there would need to be a qualification of First Aid Officer. So I might add this here. All right, and then So that's it. I've just created the responsibility with a certificate which it's required. And depending on what vaccination, induction, or qualification you need, you can add those here. Hit submit. And that's it. I've created it quite easily. Now the next part of this is to be able to add people to it. And I do that. I can do it individually. It's a lot easier if I mass assign, because what we're looking for is employees related to multiple sites. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go, and this is just to filter the employee levels here. I am just going to, well, you can do it by site position. It only filters this list here, just to try and make it easier. So I am going to select myself, and I am going to assign myself to probably New South Wales is a little bit high. That's all right. I'll just use New South Wales. Now, previously, you'd have to select every single site. Actually, you'd have to add multiple per site. But what we've got is to include subsites. Now, what this is going to do, quite similar to the induction register, is it's going to look for all combinations between the employees and the sites, and it's going to give me the details for confirmation on the next page. All right, so I've only got two sites, New South Wales and Taronga Zoo, in this one here, and it's saying, hey, look, do you want to confirm this here? You can stop it if you'd like, so by exception, and hit submit. Now, there we go. It's just assigned me to these ones here, and yeah, we can go through and do the qualification needs analysis, training needs analysis later on as well. Increasingly so, we're going to do things by responsibility, not just person throughout the system. So I might have someone responsible for a particular, it might be psychosocial per state. So I might have someone in charge of New South Wales, Queensland, whatever it is, and different people per state involved in it. Now, what that relates to, particularly in the system at the moment, I'll give you an example. It's in the incident register by incident type. What you can now do is you can add a new, which is your psychosocial, and there's a lot of options. So in incidents, if someone selects the incident type equals psychosocial, we can now define all of this stuff. Anonymous reporting is that the person reporting the incident can remain anonymous if they wish. Make private means it's of a specific type that commonly people cannot access unless I define permission here. So with the psychosocial, according to legislation, they can't be public. So unless they're specifically of that responsibility, they cannot be doing it. So I can just go by responsibility equals the, okay, well, I'll just pick up the senior first aid officer I just did. And I'm going to say that person is assigned. So there's three different things we can do. And this is the most powerful. They're assigned. So they're made responsible for anything of the incident type psychosocial for the sites that they have been selected for. Who can see it also by responsibility. So you might have your senior management team or whoever needs to see the incident. And then you can also put a notification in there, which is by email report, sending it through to people that this has actually happened. So 3 different levels of access that you can have. Great description down here. But then basically by responsibility, it will kind of divide it out depending on the site structure. Okay. Now, the next part of the incident types is, and it's following on from the checklists really, everything that Phil showed you in the checklists, you can now add to an incident type. So that means when they select this incident type, you can say, well, here are the custom questions that we want to ask them. I'm going to cancel this process here. But I'm going to go back through to the incident register, and I'm going to add new incident. And what you'll see is we've always had, say, vehicle, for example, come up with these custom questions by vehicle. So we've defined a couple. They've always been in the system. But now you can define these questions here by that section that we just did in the incident register. All right. Other than that, I can go into smart forms if you like, Phil, but I don't think we have another hour odd. You there, Phil?
Yeah, I'm here. It's yeah, no, usually these webinars are only for half an hour. We've gone on a little bit longer, but the reason being is because the checklist feature and the checklist monitor are arguably some of the most powerful features inside the system. If you're not using them, you should be. So if you want to know more about them, please don't hesitate to book in. As everyone knows, they can book in at any period of time. Just go to the website. That is my diary. So if I can't do it, Michael will actually do the meeting as well. So but if you've got certain things that you want to actually do, please don't hesitate to ask us to actually help you build them inside the system, because I know everyone's time poor. So and I'd rather get the girls to actually build them inside the system for you instead of wasting your time, whatever it may be. But anyway, thank you for turning up to the webinar. Hope you got something out of that. And we'll be doing these far more regularly this year. So as well as doing some other kind of help kind of features inside the system to highlight some of the new features that have gone into the system. Thank you. And I have recorded this, and this will be up on the help section. I've got an operation tomorrow, so maybe the day after. So but thank you everyone for turning up.